We've all seen those intense courtroom dramas where a lawyer points a finger and shouts, "You're lying under oath." But what does that actually mean? Today, we're going to break down the crime of perjury. This isn't just any lie. It's a lie so serious it can completely wreck our justice system and, yes, land a person in prison for years.
It's a heck of a question, right? But this isn't some hypothetical. There are very specific circumstances where one single deliberate lie can completely unravel your life. So let's figure out exactly when a lie stops being just a lie and crosses the line into a felony.
All right, let's get right into it. First things first, we need to understand what legally separates a simple mistake or a white lie from the very serious crime of perjury. It's not just about getting something wrong. It's about a very specific kind of deception.
So here's the official definition, straight from the California Penal Code. And you got to pay attention to two key words here, knowingly and under oath. This tells you everything. The law isn't targeting someone who just misremembers something, it's targeting intentional, deliberate deception in a formal legal setting where the absolute truth is required. Now, this is absolutely crucial. For a prosecutor to convict someone of perjury, they have to prove all three of these things. An honest mistake, a simple lapse in memory, that's not perjury. The lie has to be on purpose. It has to happen when you've formally sworn to tell the truth. And, this is a big one, it has to be about something that actually matters to the case, what the law calls a material fact.
So when you hear under oath, your mind probably jumps straight to a courtroom witness stand, right? But the reality is, that's just one piece of the puzzle. Let's look at all the different places this crime can actually happen.
Yeah, while courtroom testimony is the classic example we all think of, it is far from the only one. The law covers any situation where you make a sworn statement, and believe me, a lot of those happen miles away from any judge or jury.
Think about all the legal paperwork out there. When you sign a declaration for, say, a restraining order, or you fill out a financial disclosure for a divorce, you'll often see that little phrase, under penalty of perjury. If you lie on those forms, that's the same thing as lying in court. And then you've got depositions. These are basically interviews that happen before a trial where witnesses have to give sworn testimony. And because you are under oath, any deliberate lie told during that deposition can be prosecuted as perjury.
Now this one really brings it home for a lot of us. Have you ever really read the fine print on a government form before you sign it, like at the DMV? It often says you're signing under penalty of perjury. So, technically, lying about your address on a sworn application, well, it fits the definition. It just goes to show how often we're in situations where telling the truth isn't just a good idea, it's a legal requirement.
Okay, so how does a suspected lie actually turn into a felony charge? It's not usually a dramatic, gotcha moment in the courtroom. The process is often slow, very methodical, and can come as a total shock to the person being accused. An investigation doesn't just pop up out of nowhere, it gets triggered. A judge might hear testimony that just doesn't sound right. An attorney on the other side might flag a major inconsistency. Or maybe physical evidence comes to light that flat out contradicts what someone swore to. Sometimes it's a government agency that just detects fraud during an audit. And this is pretty much how it plays out step by step. Once that suspicion is raised, investigators have to build a solid case. They're gathering documents, they're talking to other witnesses, and they're looking for proof that the lie wasn't just a mistake, but that it was willful. And because of all that legwork, an arrest for perjury might happen months, or get this, even years after the original lie was told.
Okay, so this brings us to the really heavy part, the consequences. If an investigation actually leads to a conviction, the penalties are incredibly severe. And that's by design, because perjury doesn't just harm a case, it harms the entire legal system's integrity.
And this right here is a huge deal. Unlike a lot of other crimes, perjury in California is what's called a straight felony. There is no option to plead it down to a lesser misdemeanor charge. If you are convicted, you are a convicted felon. Period. End of story.
So what does that mean in terms of time? Well, a conviction can lead to a state prison sentence of 2, 3, or even up to 4 years. The exact sentence depends on the details of the case, of course, but the threat of serious time behind bars is very, very real.
And it doesn't stop there. On top of the potential prison time, a conviction can also come with a pretty substantial fine. We're talking up to $10,000, so the financial hit can be huge.
But honestly, this might just be the penalty that hurts the most, because it lasts a lifetime. A permanent felony record creates massive hurdles in your life. It can stop you from getting certain jobs or professional licenses, make it incredibly difficult to find housing, and it can even impact your immigration status. The consequences follow you long after any sentence is served.
So what happens if you're the one being accused? I mean, facing a felony charge like this is terrifying, and building a defense has to start the second an arrest is made.
The first thing that happens is the whole booking process. Bail gets set, and because perjury is seen as such a serious crime against the justice system itself, that bail amount is typically set pretty high, often in the tens of thousands of dollars.
So how do you even begin to fight a perjury charge? Well, a lot of the time, the defense strategy goes right back to those three key elements we talked about at the beginning. The defense might argue, hey, it was an honest mistake, not a willful lie. Or maybe they'll argue that the lie wasn't material, that it had absolutely no impact on the outcome of the case anyway. Other times, they challenge the process itself. Was the question that was asked confusing? Was the oath even administered legally? See, the burden is always on the prosecution to prove every single one of those elements beyond a reasonable doubt.
You know, when you boil it all down, perjury laws exist for one simple reason. Our entire justice system, the whole shebang, is built on a foundation of truth. And when that foundation gets cracked by a deliberate lie, it threatens the fairness of every single outcome. It's a crime not just against one person, but against the system we all rely on. And that really leaves us with a final question to think about. What is the true cost when that trust is broken?